Deputy Alex Collins talks about how he found out that Christopher Dorner was in San Bernardino County. This is getting close to the point, right, when you get involved, because at some point they find his truck on fire in your county.
Yeah, so he shot Officer Crane, killing Officer Crane, who left behind a wife and two children, and then severely wounded Tackius, and that was in the early morning hours of February 7th. So I remember I was watching the news, and I see this is all over the news, the Riverside officers, and then some of the guys I knew from my department were out there helping out at the scene. My brother Ryan had just recently got promoted from our SVD team to sergeant, and he actually was stationed in Big Bear as a patrol watch commander. So I called him just to see what was going on. We talked to each other almost every day. So I called him, and he's kind of whispering on the phone, and he goes, "Hey, I think we found Dorner's truck up here in Big Bear."
Welcome to Game of Crimes. Welcome back, everybody. It's always sunny in Florida, apparently, when you're the traitorous bastard Murph is, leaving me up here in cold Northern Virginia, but that's okay. Welcome to Game of Crimes. I am the cold host, Morgan Wright.
And I'm the warm host looking at a sunny day outside. I've got the ceiling fan on in the little office here. Murph. You can call me Murph. It's Steve Murphy.
Yeah, my partner in crime in sunny Florida, fighting off the alligator. So, hey, guys, thank you for joining us. Hey, before we dive in and talk about last week's episode, just a couple things real quick. Just some quick housekeeping. Head on over to Apple, give us those 5 stars or whatever platform you happen to be on. It really helps us get the exposure, and helps us give the gift that is a Game of Crimes. And remember, this holiday season, tell one person. This is our new campaign. Tell one, share one. Tell one person, share one episode. Tell one, share one. Tell everybody about Game of Crimes. We want to be off the charts come January, so we can take a vacation and I can go down to Florida and swim in Murph's new pool. So
I'll introduce you to Big Al. He's got a buddy. He's got a buddy that's about a 6-foot alligator. We call him Boots.
I'm thinking boots and purse and coat. So
there you go. There you go. Come on down, brother.
All right. Also, guys, head on over to our website, gameofcrimespodcast.com, for everything merch, any events that we happen to do. We've got a mailing list. That's where we also post pictures when we have pictures. We will have pictures from this episode. We had pictures from Luis Navia, Joe Piersante, the last few episodes. A lot of great stuff over there. Also, follow us on this thing they call social media, at Game of Crimes on Twitter, at Game of Crimes Podcast on Facebook and the Instagram. But Steve, you know where people really need to be?
Where is that?
Patreon.com/Game of Crimes.
Oh.
We've got some controversial stuff. I'm just, by the time this comes out, there will be a teaser episode on our latest random surprise where we give a follow-up to the shit show that is Loudoun County.
Yeah.
And also we talk about the legalization of marijuana, but as it impacts teens, suicide, and the content, how much concentration there is on it. So we've got some adult discussions. We have some adult discussions over there where we actually talk about it. So you got to go over there. We've got some great stuff coming out. We've got, in fact, this month, it's pretty clear that we're doing Coen Brothers month. So, those are the guys behind things like The Big Lebowski and Fargo.
Uh-huh.
It looks like The Big Lebowski will be the winner. We shall be reviewing The Big Lebowski and actually see if that rug actually pulls the room together. Murph, you're going to have to watch it because I can tell by your face you haven't watched it yet.
You're exactly right. I haven't. I was looking forward to watching Fargo, but hey, we'll go with whatever everybody wants to hear.
We go with what our patrons say. So head on over there. And if you just want to do a pause for the cause, just give us a random shout out or just drop some random, cashola dinero. Just go to paypal.com and use our email, gameofcrimespodcast@gmail.com or paypal.me/Game of Crimes, whatever it makes it easier for you to support the show and help us bring you more content. Now, before we get into our disclaimer, talk about that. What an amazing episode. We got so much feedback on Luis Navia.
Mm-hmm.
And people, it was just a masterclass in what these guys did. And some people, and one person actually encapsulated it correctly. What a lesson in history. We're talking about Che Guevara, Raul and Fidel Castro, Meyer Lansky. I mean, these names
Yep.
from the past.
Right. And we just did that episode on Case of the Month. I'm not sure if it's out yet on Patreon, but that talks about the potential indictment of Raul Castro and what really happened.
By the time they hear this, it will be out. It comes out on the 20th. And so this is coming out on the 22nd, whatever, something like that, Monday. So
Sweet.
it will be out, and you guys will be able to go to Patreon and listen to it and listen to our teaser episode. If you're not a member of Patreon, we'd love to have you guys join us as a player at one of our 3 levels. So make sure you do that. But now, Steve.
Hello.
Before we get into our show, let me just remind everybody, this is a show about crime. We talk about bad people doing bad things and bad people doing bad things to good people. We take the story seriously, but
we never take ourselves seriously. If you think you are, let us know, because we're here to have some fun with you.
we're here to help. We are from the government. We are here to help.
So bend over and cough.
Bohica, bend over. Here it comes again. So, hey, Murph, but before we get into Game of Crimes, guess what time it is?
I've got a clue. I got a feeling I know what it is. It's time for
Small Town Police Blotters.
Yay!
Hey, by the way, we did get an inquiry on our Patreon page. I'm going to throw it out here because I thought it was interesting. Mr. Walker said, hey, what do you guys, he thought we were saying salud, like S-A-L-U-D. And I said, I sent him a real quick clip. So when we say salute, it's actually a throwback to hee-haw.
Yeah.
And so guess what? Here's the first one. This comes from Logan Dorhut via our Game of Crimes podcast group. This comes from Joshua, Texas Police Department. Joshua, Texas, population 5,910. Salute. Okay, that's S-A-L-U-T-E. So, Steve, on November 11th, we get recent stuff. This is not stuff from the past, like what year was it? On November 11th, 2021, at approximately 9:55 p.m., Joshua Police Sergeant Sean Fulligar received a call of a reckless driver. Okay, we get those, right?
Mm-hmm.
This caller stated the suspect was driving a motorcycle in and out of traffic dressed in an animal suit. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Fulligar located the suspect, and he was actually on a bicycle, not a motorcycle, and he was wearing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer outfit. Sergeant Fulligar attempted to stop Rudolph, but he fled. And he was pedaling towards Sergeant Fulligar. When he was able to get off the bicycle, a fight ensued. So Rudolph was charged with fleeing with prior convictions, a state felony, and resisting arrest, a Class A misdemeanor, and transported to the Johnson County Jail. Once at the jail, Rudolph fought with the jail staff too.
Rudolph's an idiot. Holy cow.
Rudolph the Red. Rudolph the Red. That's from the beating he got from fighting everybody.
Well, I mean, was there drugs or alcohol involved? I mean, he's just getting in the Christmas spirit early.
Well, all it says is that he attempted to stop Rudolph, but Rudolph went down a dead-end street on his bicycle and turned around and was pedaling towards Sergeant Fulligar. It doesn't say anything about drugs or alcohol, which means he was just most likely somebody from Florida that was lost in Texas.
Well, he saw those flashing lights, and he probably thought it was Santa. What the hell are you doing? It's not Christmas Eve yet. Get your ass back up to the North Pole.
Now, hey, I did research on this next story because you see some of these posted, and you go like, is it real? It's really real. This one comes from Brockton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
It comes from their police log. When police told 20-year-old Alex Paulus of 25 Hunt Street, which that really exists, it's there. I went on Google Maps. I did all the research, that a woman had identified him as one of 3 men who had burst into an apartment on Court Street late Saturday night and held the occupants at gunpoint. He said that was impossible. Of course, that's what they all said, right? But you know what he said to say that it was impossible?
What?
How could she tell it was me? I had a mask on.
There's a whole separate class of criminals out there with a big L on their forehead for losers. Oh my gosh.
Speaking of losers, and Florida's second letter in Florida is a big L. Man beaten after catching boyfriend humping their dog. Upon discovering his boyfriend humping their dog, a Florida man was beaten and threatened with a knife by his beau, police allege. According to an arrest report, the 58-year-old victim told cops he caught John Miller, 33, engaged with the canine inside their home in Milton, Florida. Steve, population 10,523.
I'm not saluting that one. No, I'm not doing it.
A city outside Pensacola, Miller and the victim have been dating for approximately 5 years. Now, he's 58, the other dude's 33, so, that's a little bit difference in age. So,
well, apparently the 58-year wasn't keeping up with the 33-year-old. He had to go elsewhere. Geez, that is just so
gives
nasty.
a whole new meaning to doggy style. I'm just telling you, man. Oh my God. Oh my God. So the victim said that when he confronted Miller about the November 11th dog humping, Miller began punching him in the head and body. So Miller was subsequently located by police. He claimed that his boyfriend had attacked him in the garage with a metal rod of some kind. The attack, Miller claimed, began after he caught his boyfriend looking at boys in their underwear on Instagram.
Oh, oh. I didn't even know that was on Instagram, and I hope I never see it on Instagram.
Oh my God. Well, folks, when you follow us on Instagram, ignore the pictures of Steve in a Speedo. He is definitely not a young boy in underwear.
And let me tell you, I agree with that 100%. Don't be looking at that.
Hey, so now, what year was it?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're going to go 3 for 21 on this one. I just
Go ahead. Let's see.
This comes from the Ottawa Citizen, from our good neighbors. Hey, Steve Metelsky, North in Canada, Pam Barnum, eh? So the Ottawa Citizen, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. This comes to us from October 21st. You have to figure out what year. The headline is, Mayor says false stories spread on police search. An organized telephone campaign has been spreading false stories about the police search of City Hall files. Some weeks ago, Mayor Whitten charged last night at the meeting of the City Council. The mayor reiterated her stand that any public statement on the search she ordered should come after a private conference with the Border Control. They said this was all done to embarrass the council. She said that a complete report on the incident to present to the board. She rested with the board the responsibility of hearing that report. Her comments came after a question by Alderman Howard Henry, who said he and other aldermen were placed in an embarrassing position when police asked them about the police search. He did not want to put anybody on the spot. When people asked, he said all he knew was what he had appeared in the press. So this goes on. This is kind of a long article, but somebody organized a telephone campaign to spread harassing and false stories, according to the mayor, on the police search. So, Steve, from Ottawa, Canada, was it October 21st, 1942, 1952, or 1962?
1952, because that was a good year.
You got one. You got your fourth one.
Yes, I did. I got one. Look at that. Let's celebrate. Hey, let's have a party next week. Let's call it Thanksgiving. What do you think? I love it. That'd be this week when this comes out, right?
That'll be this week when it comes out, right? And then Thursday, when part 2 comes out on this one, it will be fun. So, all right.
Looky there. Murph's 4 for 4,000 now.
Yeah, 4 for 21. You sound like the Cubs in baseballs.
Or the Washington Redskins in football. Oh, the Redskins, Washington Football Club. I'm sorry, we can't call them Redskins.
Washington football team, yes.
Well,
which happens to be down the road from me here.
Hey, did you see they beat Tampa Bay?
No, I don't watch pro football.
Okay, goodbye.
Only college football. Just that's it, man. Too many prima donnas in pro football.
I'm with you.
Anyway, speaking of prima donnas, let's quit talking about you. Let's talk about our episode, because this one... But this one will humble you. I guarantee you, this one will humble you. If you think you're a badass, wait till you listen to Alex Collins. Alex is a deputy with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office. And so this goes back to February of 2013, when Christopher Dorner, a former LAPD officer, had just gotten out of the Navy and went on a killing spree. He had already killed one police officer, wounded another, shot and killed another 2. And then during the ensuing shootout, you're going to hear... Alex lost his partner, Deputy Josh MacKay. So, but Steve, I think this one also came to us by our good buddy down in San Diego there, Mel.
It did. Mel Sosa's taking care of us. Thank you, Mel. This one is so sad. I mean, we've been putting some good content out to you. We had the Joe Pierasante story and what a hero he is. And wait till you hear Alex's story, because it's heartbreaking. It's going to be another one of these where you're cutting onions, but just so honored that he came on to tell his story to us. It's a hero. I mean, we keep saying the same thing every week, but it's these guys. And I'll tell you, folks, I don't have heroes. I have people I look up to. I guess the closest thing to a hero for me is my dad. But when you hear these stories, these guys were performing heroic actions. And there's also a little surprise in this where it wasn't so heroic. And, we're here to tell you the truth. You get the honest stories from the people who lived them. And we're going to give you a little bit of an opinion towards the end of this interview. So just hang in there with us on this.
Boy, do I. Just hang on it, because if you want to see me go sideways, and I rarely do, I go sideways on this one. And I know you do too, Murph. So, but the other thing too is, you think this story is great. We've got a couple others in the works, females.
Oh my gosh.
Female officers who have done incredible things. And so we're just going to leave it at that. We're going to tease that. So, Steve, this one is this is going to be a classic episode too. So let me ask you, Steve, are you ready to play the biggest, baddest, most dangerous game of all, the game of crimes?
Hey, and like we've said before, and this is one you need to get in, sit down, shut up, and hold on. Bring on Alex, our new hero.
We told you folks, actually, we warned you folks that we were going to reach out and start getting some, I mean, not just great stories, I mean, excellent stories and excellent stories of human just bravery, just people who are, no matter what the odds, they fight back. We had Joe Piersante, we had Michael Neal, you just name it. We had a lot of people that have been involved in a lot of stuff. And this one is no different. I mean, this one is a situation you guys all heard and you listened on the news. This started in February of 2013. This is when, and he was a piece of shit. A guy named Chris Dorner got kicked off of LAPD, waited a couple years, lost his case, and decided, hey, I'm going to take it out on people. And this guy went on a rampage. He went on a killing rampage. And it just, I mean, this is one of those stories that the only way to get the real story is to talk to somebody who was there. So we've got somebody who was there. In fact, we've got one of the deputies from San Bernardino County that was actually injured at the shooting and is lost, his partner was killed at the final confrontation with Chris Dorner. But look, I'm telling you, his story is amazing. When you hear what he went through and you hear what he did to recover, and Steve, I mean, you also, here's another one. Murph, you have limited value sometimes, but your value is, a few people that can get us some great
Well, when you're talking,
interviews.
When you were introducing and saying that we bring on the people that have to really have put up with the shit that's going on out there, I thought you were going to talk about some of the people in Kansas that had to put up with your shit out there. They got to be.
Look, I've made them only
heroes.
better. I've only made them better. Sharpen the, iron sharpens iron.
That's what you tell yourself. Okay. So, but this is, and all joking aside here, we're trying to lighten the mood because this is such a dark topic, but it's a freaking hero we've got on today here. A guy who never gave up, who has encountered additional adverse reactions since then. And we'll talk about those towards the end of his interview today. But Alex, man, it is such an honor and a pleasure to have you here. I don't have heroes in my life, but I have people I look up to, brother, and you are one of them. Holy cow, what you've gone through and what you've made out of it and what you continue to do on a daily basis. Brother, you are setting a standard for everybody else to follow. So it's an honor to have you here today.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It means a lot, especially coming
Well,
from you guys.
see, now you're being humble, man. Speak up, man. We're talking like Superman here. This is better than Batman.
I mean, you've been through shit for 10 lifetimes. You've been through stuff that most people will never go through, even if they sit through the movies, for 10 years. So, hey, look, well, first of all, like I said, welcome. And you are coming to us today from sunny San Bernardino. In fact, you're coming to us from inside your vehicle because you being the SWAT guy, you're not good at planning. You're just good at executing. You forgot your charger for your laptop. Your kids are going to be home in a little bit. So here you are. We're just going to, we have video going because we want to make sure he doesn't pass out from carbon monoxide. So he's in an open area. We're all good. Hey, so Alex, let's get started. I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
I was going to say, Alex, it's not because he doesn't have his charges card. This man is ready to respond. If a call comes in while we're doing the interview, y'all might hear sirens in the background. This guy's
He's got his camo
going
paint
to the
on
next
his
call.
face already, his do-rag, his helmet ready to go. Man, the dude is geared up, always geared up. But
as much surveillance as we do, I'm pretty comfortable in this car. So hundreds of hours from this front seat right here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
We'll have some stories about that too. So hey, Alex, let's do this. Let's get started like we always do with folks. We want to know what the hell possessed you to get into this profession we call law enforcement. I mean, I know we had our pre-call yesterday and you talked about your brothers. And so, I mean, that's kind of cool. Right? It kind of runs in the family. So what really possessed you to say, hey, look, and when did you know you wanted to be a cop? I mean, you're a deputy. You should have been a state trooper, should have been a city cop, but I mean, you wanted to be a deputy. So
he wanted a
we're
real
going to roll
job.
with that. Yeah,
He wanted a real job.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So what possessed you to, when did you know first that you wanted to go in law enforcement? Was it because of your brothers or something else?
Yeah, it was definitely my brothers. My oldest brother, Ryan, he's 12 years older than I am. My brother, Matt, 10 years older than I am. And I think I was maybe like 12 or 13 when my brother Ryan graduated the academy. And I remember going to his academy graduation and just seeing everybody there in uniform, and then they played a video of the highlights of the academy, and I was like, I was just kind of blown away by that. and from that moment on, it was something I wanted to do. And then my brothers and I are so close, just kind of hanging out with them and hanging out with their friends, and going to the river with these guys and listening to all their stories. I was like, this is it.
Wait a minute. You went to the river when they were drinking beer. Did you participate in illegal consumption of alcohol when you were a youth?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I used to outdrink some of those guys when I was like 16 years old.
Well, statute of limitations is run out, so it's okay.
I work with all those guys now, and then they're like, man, I remember you drinking beers when you're like 17, 18 out at the lake. And so we have a good laugh about it.
Yeah, and the tough part, too, is when you got older brothers like that. You were joking yesterday, too. You said that you were the only planned one in the family.
That's what my mom says, but I don't know about that.
So one brother's 10 and one brother's 12 years older than you?
Yeah.
So that would have made life kind of difficult for you growing up, because it's going to be one of two things. Either you got away with everything or you got away with nothing. Which one was it?
Yeah, probably nothing. But like I said, they always make jokes with my parents that they raised me and stuff like that, because they always pick me up from school, drop me off from school, just spent a lot of time together. So we grew up in a really cool area out here in Southern California. My parents have 5 acres in the foothills, so we kind of had run of the property. We had like a little shooting range at the house, rode motorcycles and stuff, and we still, every Sunday we get together and go to my parents' house and hang out and play football in the backyard.
That's cool.
Yeah. So when you were like goofing around as a teenager and doing stuff, did you get stopped by any of the local deputies?
No, just once or twice. Yeah. They got me out of a couple tickets. So.
But I bet your brothers found out about it, though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Did they tune you up?
No, it was okay. I think I ran a stop sign or something like that, so they weren't too mad about it.
Yeah, well, that was the thing too. Like when I grew up in a little town of Chapman, Kansas, population like 1,500. Salute. They put everybody's birthday on the Lions Club calendar. That's how small of a town this was. You couldn't do shit. I mean, you go in to try and buy beer. Morgan, you'll be 18 in 4 months. Why don't you come back and see me then? It's like, damn, yeah, it's no fun. But it was always so much fun. So they had been on. How long had they? Well, what was your path to get in there too? Because I mean, you get out of high school and you talk about you went to college, but you sounded like you went to college just to have a placeholder and keep your parents happy till you could apply for the sheriff's office.
Yeah, so my brothers are real squared away. Like, they're really good. Went to college and did that. My brother Matt went to law school for a little bit, and I was kind of the wild one. I think the youngest one always is. That's what it kind of seems to be like.
And the youngest one always gets away with more than the older ones did, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of busy chasing girls and drinking beer and that kind of stuff. And but again, always knew what I wanted to do. And my dad owned his own business, so my brothers and I worked there. So I worked for my dad, went to community college, and was just kind of waiting until I was old enough to apply. So I applied for the sheriff's department. Like, you're supposed to wait till you're 20 and a half. I did it.
Well, let's not skip over community college, because I'm sure you had a couple stories from there. So when you went to community college, I mean, did you think that you were going to at least stick around long enough to graduate and go on, or were you just like, no, I'm just doing this to keep mom and dad happy, and then the minute I can, like I'm punching out?
Yeah, I just did it so I could still live at home. So my mom said if I was going to live at home, I had to be going to school. So I think I had like 2 classes, like, I don't know, a week or something like that. It was the bare minimum.
Hey, at least you're being honest about it.
I hated school. I couldn't stand it.
How come?
I don't know. It just didn't really see the point of any of it. I wish I would have taken it serious now, looking back at it, but just never liked it.
What were you studying at least? Did you have at least any area that you really liked? Any classes that you liked at least?
Just business. I kind of was into that, and I went back and forth too if I was going to, continue to work for my dad or do something else. But law enforcement was always that goal. I was just kind of, it was just weird because I wasn't old enough to apply at the time, so I was just kind of waiting for that. So, but as soon as I was old enough, I did.
Did you ever get to go on a ride along with your brothers?
Yeah, I went on a ride along with my brother Matt. He was on patrol in our Rancho Cucamonga area, and then when I was in the academy, my oldest brother Ryan had promoted to detective, so he was off patrol, and then so I went with my brother Matt a couple times, like right before the academy.
So was it thought what you, I mean, because you talk about kind of the area you were in, what area were they in at that time? Because there's some areas of San Bernardino, obviously, that are just really active and some that are a little bit more remote and a little bit, sleepier, a little bit less stressful. What kind of areas were your brothers working at the time?
So my brother Matt, he worked patrol in Rancho Cucamonga, which is a large city, pretty wealthy city. Nothing too, I mean, they get their calls and stuff like that. It's a pretty populated area, but a pretty safe area. And then my brother Ryan worked patrol in the city of Highland, which again has a lot of nicer homes. But once you get towards the west end, it borders San Bernardino City, which is I think it's one of our busiest stations for the amount of deputies that we have in the county. So he worked patrol there, was a motor there, and then promoted to detective, and then went to Victorville City, which is another one of our most busy stations. And so he was over there as a detective when I got hired on.
So when you say motor, let people know what you mean by that. He was working on motorcycles?
Yeah, he was a roto motorcycle. Yeah, we had I don't think we have any more in the county, or maybe one station has them, but we pretty much got rid of all of them. But yeah, he was a traffic motor officer for a while.
Let me tell you, motorcycles can be fun. First of all, when you're single, chicks dig guys on motorcycles, with leather jackets. And but really from an enforcement tool, there are some really good things you can do with them. Hey, let's set some context too. Tell us about San Bernardino County, because I didn't realize this until you told me about this, not just the population. So let's talk about the population, but just the sheer size of the county. How big is it?
Yeah, it's the largest geographical county in the U.S. So we go all the way. We have like 13 contract cities. So we go all the way from the Colorado River, Nevada, and then we go all the way and border L.A. County, and then we have to the Nevada state line right there in Las Vegas.
Jeez,
what's the population of the county?
I don't know what the population is.
Well, here, let's do this. Hey Siri, what's the population of San Bernardino County?
In 2020, the population of San Bernardino County was 2,181,654.
Yeah, 2.1 million.
Damn.
Man, that's good size. You got a lot of stuff. What's the busiest city? You said San Bernardino City is like maybe your busiest or dodgiest area?
So I think like the busiest is it'd probably be our I think for call volume for law enforcement would be probably our Victorville City. And then our Highland, just the amount because they hardly have any deputies over there, and I think the calls per deputy is higher at our Highland station.
And how many deputies do you guys have to cover that entire county?
So we have a little over 2,000 sworn.
I mean, that's a lot, but spread out over the largest county in the United States, that's really not a lot. I mean, sometimes, if you're out there working, are you guys set up, sometimes when you're like state troopers like I was, or some other guys that work in rural areas, your closest, backup might be 30, 40 minutes away. What was it like for you guys when you were out, or like the area that your brother's in? We're going to get to you working first, but like some of these areas do you have some deputies that they're the only ones out there? Just by themselves?
Yeah, so like our Needle station, I think they have like 3 guys on, and they cover a huge area. But yeah, your backup could be, even when I went to patrol as a sergeant, I worked our Yucca Valley, it's our Morongo Basin area. But yeah, you're going to calls and they're 45, 50 minutes away, and your backup's an hour away.
And I tell you, that's one of those things where you learn a lot of stuff about the art of negotiation, because it's like you can't walk in there like Billy Badass if your backup's still an hour away. It's like that's the value when you watch the Alaska State Troopers. A friend of mine actually used to be the commissioner of the Alaska State Troopers, and you see guys go up there, and it's like, sometimes it would take a day to respond to calls. They'd have to fly places.
Good Lord.
Yeah. It's frustrating sometimes, especially when I was working Morongo. You're going to calls, and it's an hour there, an hour back, and you get there and it turns out to be nothing. And then, or you're trying to get there, you're pretty quick, and it's a priority call, and we have a lot of like deputy involved accidents.
Well, and being out there by yourself, and so our listeners, just so you know what Alex looks like, he's kind of fat and dumpy here. He's out of shape. He can't run. And the truth is, he actually looks like a stud.
Oh, no, Murph, you got the mirror on. You got the mirror on.
That's exactly right. This guy's cut and buff, man. He's ready to go. He's out running again. You know what? And you seriously, you got to be able to take care of yourself at least to keep yourself alive until help gets there.
No, especially that. I always say that, like, as a supervisor, and it's like, you got to take care of yourself, and how your guys going to trust you to take care of them if you can't take care of yourself? So,
Well, and just from a fact standpoint, a lot of people think that on duty, like in shootings or felonious assaults or knifings and stuff, kill more police officers. No, the number one thing that kills more cops on duty than anything else are traffic accidents. I mean, every year. I mean, it is. And it's like you're going there, you're on a hot call, and it's just one of those things of life. I used to tell guys too, is I said, look, you do nobody any good if you can't get there. Just slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Just get there, and do the work. But let's talk about you getting in to do the work, right? So you screwed off in college. You took just you did the bare minimum. So your mom and dad wouldn't kick you out of the house. But when you reach that point, tell us about applying then for the sheriff's office. What does that process look like when you apply in San Bernardino County?
So I'm trying to think. I think we applied online. Then you submit your application. Then you get a test date for a written test. Once you've taken that, and then they'll give you your score back maybe about a month later, and let you know what group you got, what group you placed in. I think it's like 1 through 4, how you did on the test. If you pass, they'll give you a date to show up for physical agility, and you'll take your physical agility test, which is like jumping over the wall, the chain link fence, the obstacle course, and then I think it's like maybe a mile run or something like that, or a 1.5 mile run. Once you pass that, you'll meet with your background investigator, and he'll give you your background packet. You'll fill your background packet out, turn that in, and then you just kind of wait for a phone call from your background investigator.
Was there anything about your background you were worried about?
No.
Anything you want to tell our listening audience today? Here,
and knowing the
Collins?
statute of limitations has run out. I mean, it's okay.
No, with that, it's like you think everything is going to get you. I remember I worked for my dad, so I just used to steal Gatorades out of the vending machine all the time, or not even steal them. I don't know if that would be considered stealing, but I wouldn't pay for them. I'd grab the keys and open them up and take them. So, yeah, that was
perks.
Yeah,
perks. Hey, were the background investigators, were they deputies or were they contractors?
They were detectives, and then we would contract like the polygraph. I think. Oh no, we would. I think that's in house as well too. So that everything's kind of in-house.
So did having 2 brothers on help or hurt you in the application process?
No, I think it helped me, especially being so young. And then they want life experience and stuff like that. And again, like I worked for my dad, so that probably didn't look good. I lived at home. I was 20 and a half.
Taking the bare minimum at community college.
Yeah. And then at that time, so my parents, it's kind of a little off story, but so I told you where we lived and stuff like that. So I think it was back probably in the 60s, my grandpa bought 40 acres out here in Southern California, and he parceled off 5 acres for each one of his daughters, and then he numbered them and let them draw this in a hat, right? And then whatever number they got, that was a parcel of property they got. So right before I was born in 1986, my parents decided to build a house on the property. They had it for a while. So they built a house up there, and, they subcontracted it out themselves. And in 2007, there's obviously wildfires all the time out here in Southern California. Or I think maybe it's 2006. Their house actually burnt down in a wildfire. So with all this was going on, I was helping my mom and my dad and rebuild their house and stuff like that. So we were pretty busy with all that stuff going on. So I was kind of preoccupied, and it kind of took me off guard when my background investigator finally called me, and I think that helped a little bit with the life experience stuff and going through that, because I did live at home, and I mean I was at school actually when the house burned down. So wow, all I had left was what I was wearing. Yeah.
How did that? I mean,
wow.
Man, you just think about all the pictures and the memories and the other stuff. How did that hit everybody?
Oh, it was rough. It was rough on my parents, especially my mom, especially since they built that house pretty much themselves, and I mean it was just, they put so much work into it over the years, and I mean constantly. But I mean my parents, they're always working, always doing something at the house. I think that's where me and my brothers probably got our work ethic from, was my mom and dad. my dad retired about a year and a half ago, but I could probably call him right now, and he's probably in the backyard building some barn or shed, or my mom's got him building a chicken coop or something.
They sell the business or got family running it?
Yeah, they actually sold it. Someone came in and bought the land. So it was 13 acres down there in San Bernardino. So
my wife Connie, her home burned down when she was single, living by herself, and it was, it's devastating because, like you said, you lose everything, and then you get back in the ashes and you try to glean just a little photograph. It's amazing how important that those little articles that you can actually save become important in your life.
Oh, absolutely.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
that's very bad. That's bad.
But I think it brought everyone closer together. My brothers they had moved out obviously by that time, but I brought all of us together, and we rebuilt, and the house is better than it was before, and we're all closer, because of it.
Well, that's because they finally got rid of that young son. It's like the failure to launch here.
We called my middle son a boomerang. He went out, came back. Third time I said, dude, you got 30 days. Figure this out. So he figured it out. I'm very proud of him now, Marshall, man. He's doing great. But yeah, kids, the boomerang. So you get your background package. You finally, so I assume it's obvious, not that I assume, it's obvious that you finally got an offer letter, right? So what did you have to go in for interviews, and what was that like, knowing that, hey, you got brothers there and you kind of know what's going on? When did it start becoming really real to you that this was, hey man, this is going to happen?
Yeah, I think when I went in for that first interview, and you go in there, and then I think you write like a 2-page like biography about yourself, turn that in, and then the process just goes from there with getting your physical done, doing the polygraph. I think you go back for another interview, and then you have your interview with your chiefs, with all our chiefs and stuff like that, and then you get your conditional job offer and your academy start date.
Well, but you quite didn't get hired on right away, right? Because you said you went through there was a hiring freeze for a few months.
Yeah, it was probably that, or I wasn't old enough because I tested a little too early on it. I remember I was sitting in there taking the written test, and they're like, all right, well, if you've ever been convicted of a felony or you're not, 20 and a half, just go ahead and get up and leave. So I looked around, and some guy got up and walked out, and he was definitely older than 20 and a half. So I was like, I'll just, I'll take it, find out at least what's on the test. And if I, get disqualified, I'll take it again in a couple months. So.
Well, so being trained investigators, nobody picked up on the fact is you weren't 20 and a half yet, did they?
No.
Must have been an old DEA guy in charge of the background investigations. They miss stuff like that, don't they, Murph?
Top-notch investigator, brother. There you go.
Yeah. So you get the offer letter. So how long did this whole process take you, including the wait, before from the time you applied till the time you actually, feet dry, as they say at the academy? Your boots are on the ground.
Gosh, I want to say probably 8 to 9 months, I think, till I got till I started the academy. That was July 2007.
Yeah, not a bad time to start. What's July like in San Bernardino? You're Southern California, so it's got to be like what, 80 degrees all the time?
No, it's probably where I'm at. It's in the high 90s, 100s sometimes. So it gets pretty hot.
It also gets pretty cold. I saw a couple of the pictures. We'll talk about those later. But man, you also get some snow in some of those places too. So you're in the county, because it's so big. You really do get the weather extremes, don't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, probably here at the end of the month, I could drive 45 minutes, be in the snow, or drive 45 minutes and be down at the beach in 75-degree weather. So
not bad.
Rough life, right? Which way do I go today? Do we ski or do we swim? I don't know.
Yeah.
So you get in. So you finally make the academy. How big is your academy class when you guys start?
We started with, I think, 101.
What'd you end up with?
I think it was 60 we ended up graduating with.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys are, were you rough on them? They weren't used to PT, or what was the biggest reason most of them dropped?
Yeah, it's a high stress academy. Again, we lost a lot in the first week. I think we lost a couple to the PT aspect of it, injuries, and then the written test. I know they do it a little bit different now, but when I went through, we'd have our lectures, our training, our learning domains, and then we'd take a test on it. I think on Thursday, and then we get our scores on Friday. And if you failed 2 tests, you would get kicked out.
Oh, does that sound familiar there, Murph?
Did you go home at nighttime?
Yeah, we would go. Yeah, we'd go home at nighttime. Yeah.
Well, no, you're just.
Somehow I skated through.
Well, yeah, but you were talking that same thing though. DEA, right? If you failed test twice, I mean, you're out.
Yeah, and the main reasons people got kicked out though was firearms and PT. Very few went out on the test. They weren't easy. They were not easy, but
you could pass them if you studied. If you put in the work, right? So
exactly, absolutely.
Well, you were lucky. You got to go home at night. So, were there other people? I mean, how big of an area did you guys draw from? So, out of your class, were there people from several different states, out of the area, or do you guys tend to get more people in your area?
Yeah, so it was a lot of it was everyone from California, just for the California Post side of it. But yeah, we had them from all local PDs. We had some guys from like Mammoth Lakes, which is 3 hours north from where we're at. So it was a mix of, and then we had a couple from Los Angeles County that were over in this academy.
Those guys that were 3 hours away, did they stay in hotels or where'd they stay at?
Yeah, one of the guys had some family that lived down here, and he would say, I think it was his in-laws had a house down here, so he stayed with his in-laws. And it was another guy, and I think he had a girlfriend or something that lived down this area.
But there was no housing provided for anybody to stay on grounds or at the academy if they were like from out of state and didn't know anybody there?
No. Yeah, they'd have to get a hotel. And I think a couple of guys did that worked for one of the local PDs. I think it was San Bernardino PD. They had a couple of guys that lived down closer to LA, and they'd stay at a hotel a couple days a week.
And that's that makes it a little rough too.
Yeah, they're really early mornings. I mean, you're getting there at 5:30 and stuff like that, and making sure all your stuff's together and not getting yelled at, and you don't forget anything.
Well, the danger too is since you can go home at night, it's like, hey, we can go drink or we can go do stuff. Whereas when you're at the academy, like I was, Murph was, it's like you don't get to go anywhere. I mean, you got to stay there. So, do you have anybody get in trouble for maybe having a couple extra beers or partying too much?
No, not in my class, but we have memos every night that we have to do that would take pretty much your entire night during the week. But yeah, we towards the end, we'd go get some beers. Me and my buddies, we go out on Friday night and go get some beers and stuff. So, especially just turning 21.
Yeah, last thing you'd want to do is if you're 20 and a half, go getting a beer right as you're at the sheriff's academy.
Yeah.
Oops. Where do they hold the academy at?
It's in Devore. It's our training center. We have a huge range out there. We got our long rifle range. We have our live firehouse for our SWAT team up there. It's a huge area. And then they have like the Glen Helen Raceway right out there, motorcycle track. It's not affiliated with the sheriff's department, just that in that area. And then we have one of our it's Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center. It's one of our county jails is also on that property.
So your academy's down in Devore. You're down there. So from start to finish, how long is your academy from the day you show up until the day you pass all your tests and graduate?
6 months.
Wow. That's a long, and that doesn't include any time riding on patrol or riding with officers. That's just 6 months in the academy.
6 months, yeah.
Whoa. Okay, that's a fairly long academy. 40 hours a week, I assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite thing in the academy?
I don't know. I really like the academy. I don't know. I kind of like the structure aspect of it, and I met some really good guys that I'm best friends with to this day. I was just a best man in my buddy's wedding, who I went through the academy with, and he was in my wedding, and just the relationships that we built there. And I mean, they'll be friends till the day I die. So
that's one of the coolest things about law enforcement is the camaraderie.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. There was only 16 in my class when I graduated the state patrol. They had troubles. 2,000 people applied. They narrowed it down. Only 16 made the academy.
Oh, wow.
Well, part of it, too, was budget. They just couldn't. I mean, it was like you go through tough budget times. It's like we need to hire 100. We could only hire 16. Literally, they needed to hire 100, but they only had the money for 16. So
how in the world did you make that cutoff?
I was number 2, baby. I was number 2 in the class.
You must have been the token something.
Token non-hillbilly, apparently. So, Hey, so
Hey, don't give hillbillies a hard time. We're good people.
Yeah, they are when you find them. When they're not hiding in the woods getting ready to snipe your ass because you're walking up on their moonshine still. So
That's right. That's right. That's precious
hey,
stuff.
and by the way, Shine, we had a guy in college, Andy North. Remember it to today, man. His fucker could make moonshine. His parents got grants for ethanol when they were starting to do ethanol. He comes in one day with this stuff, and it's like, what the hell is it? He said, watch this. He took out a syringe and shot it into the fire at our fraternity house. All I saw was freaking blue flame go up through the fireplace. He goes, you guys want a drink of that? It's like, fuck no. Oh, it was
that stuff's
moonshine.
nasty.
It was moonshine made from corn.
Yeah, I never liked it.
Anyway, let's get back to a regularly scheduled podcast. Let's talk about you, Alex.
Yeah, exactly.
So 6 months. So now, how did you guys go about figuring out where it is you were going to be posted? You know, did you guys get to pick? Did they just say this is where you're going? Did you guys have any say in it at all?
No, we didn't. So I graduated like right before Christmas. So I think we graduated like December 20th or something like that. And then for the deputies, we all get assigned to the jails unless I think the only station you can go that was taking guys straight to patrol at that time was our Colorado River station. So I think one of the guys from the academy, they came in there and like, hey, does anyone want to go to the river? And one of the guys like, yeah, I'll go. So he ended up going straight to patrol out to our river station.
So let's talk about that real quick too, because we kind of glossed over that. So when you get out, and we found this too with a lot of big sheriff's office like LA, like some of the others, and you got to work in the jail first. I mean, I think Steve didn't JP when he got on the sheriff's office. I think he started off in the jail, right? So Javier,
Yep, got to do your jail time.
Had
first.
to do time. I did time with 500 guys. So where did you do your time at there?
Hey, whoa. We don't want to know about that. Well, Morgan, you need to edit that part.
No, we're leaving it in. We're leaving it in. All right.
Yeah, so I ended up going to our Glen Helen rehabilitation center, which is kind of it was our low security jail. Wasn't anything too bad. But yeah, when we went and I think the week of graduation week, the deputies, we go down and we get sworn in and get our badges and stuff like that. And then we would meet with the commanders were there from all the jail facilities, and they just kind of split us up just by name. Like, all right, you guys are going to this jail, you guys are going to that jail. And then the guys they would try to do the best they could with the people that lived like we call it our high desert area that lived up there. We have a jail up there as well. So they try to accommodate the guys so they're not driving an hour to the jail and stuff like that. So, or if someone from the valley driving up to our high desert jail. But it does happen sometimes. Guys don't have their addresses updated, or either one, they just don't have a spot for them. So they'll end up going to whatever jail they tell you to go to.
What's the longest you knew of somebody having to drive to go to work?
Oh, when I was at our Morongo station, I had a guy, he would work patrol at our river station, and he wanted to transfer just to be a busier station, just kind of looks better for promotion. So he would commute from, he lived in Lake Havasu, which is Arizona. So he'd commute from Arizona to our Morongo station. I think it was like maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Wait, no, wait a minute. He could live in Arizona? No, actually, that's okay. We see some other folks, Loudoun County, where we're at the sheriff's office. I know some guys live in West Virginia. They just can't they have take-home vehicles, so they can't take their vehicles across state lines. They have to park them inside there, and then come back. So
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a 3 hour drive just to get there.
Yeah, he'd stay at we had a little bunk room at the station, so he'd crash at the station during his work week and then just drive home at the end of the week.
Oh, okay. So so how much time did you do on the inside, before you finally got to go? I did 8 months on the inside. So how much time did you do on the inside before they finally unleashed you and put you on patrol?
Yeah, so I think I did. It was close to like 7 months because we had we have to go to like 2 or 3 weeks of like jail operations training after the academy. But it was so close to Christmas, everyone was that was putting that training on was off, and for the holidays and stuff like that. So we went, and I think we worked a couple weeks at the jail, starting it's called like CTO training, and then we would go when I went to 2 weeks of jail ops, and then did like 7 months at the jail. But yeah, when you get there, you put your transfer request in for all the patrol stations you want to go to. So I kind of put everywhere on there. And
everywhere but here.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So what'd you get?
I went to Big Bear Big Bear. It's a little mountain community. So
How close was that to home, your original home?
so in the summer, I could get up there if I'm hauling butt. I could get up there in 45 minutes. In the winter, sometimes 3 hours, 4 hours. So.
And you guys didn't have take-home cars. You had to drive your own personal vehicles, your POVs, to get to your GOVs, right?
Yeah. So if you're on patrol and you're a deputy, yeah, you're driving your own car. So the only ones that get cars are if you're in a specialized division, whether it's our narcotics or our specialized enforcement division. But at that time, that was pretty much anyone that was in those divisions was a detective. They maybe would have like one deputy on the team.
Now, were you guys allowed? Did you guys wear your uniforms home and everything, and then dress up in them and drive to work, or did you have to get dressed at the station?
Yeah, everyone would just. Some of the old timers would, wear their uniform, pants and white shirt. But yeah, we all changed in the locker room and stuff.
How come? Just because it's too uncomfortable, or you just didn't want to be a target while you were out there driving in a civilian vehicle?
Yeah, just that, and then just the comfort aspect of it.
Oh, you mean it's not comfortable wearing 25 pounds of gear with a Kevlar vest and?
Yeah, no, not at all.
That's why chiropractors hang around cop stations and academies. It's like, hey, you look like you could use a chiropractor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Future clients.
Oh man, all the time. So, how long was your FTO? So your field training officer program. So how long did you have to ride with a training officer before they unleashed you?
So normally it's about 3 months with that, and I think I did like 10 or 11 weeks of FTO.
Was that because you were just a superstar student, or you were just too much of a pain in the ass and they wanted to get you out on patrol as soon as possible?
No, I had some really good FTOs up in Big Bear. Again, like it was a lot of guys that had been on for a long time, and my first FTO, he got his 20-year pin when I was on training with him. So a lot of knowledge. And again, it wasn't that busy of a station. And, I had my brothers to help me, and I kind of caught on pretty quick with that. And I think one of my buddies from the academy, he went up to Big Bear the same time I did, and he did about the same time as well.
So you started off at Big Bear and you stayed there. We'll get into the shooting and Chris Dorner, but you actually were there the entire time, right, up into the shooting?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. What was it like though? Did you want to go to? Big Bear it sounds beautiful. You see pictures and stuff. It's a very beautiful area, but was it getting you the kind of action you liked, or what was the trade-off for you between wanting to be in uniform, being a cop, being on the road, but being in an area to where it's like, maybe some of the calls were like, a bear just got into my trash can, or, working to just a little, motor vehicle collision.
Yeah, I definitely went up there. I was commuting, it was a pain. It was driving those mountain roads and just a battle to get to work and to get home, especially in the snow. So I wanted to be there, but yeah, I was going to do my 2 years and put my transfer request in and try and get back down to our valley area, which is our busier stations. When I was up there, I think I was getting close to my 2 years, and patrol was on 10-hour shifts at the time. So we had a day shift.
Was that 410s then, what they used to call 410s, 4 days on, 3 days off?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'd have a day shift, a swing shift, and then a graveyard shift. So we went to transition to 12-hour shifts across department-wide. So it eliminated a lot of patrol positions when we went to those 12-hour shifts. So a lot of guys that were brand new and that were on patrol, including myself, they got sent back to the jail because they weren't needed on patrol anymore. So they were going to have to go back to the jail and wait another however long till another patrol spot opened up. Luckily, my captain really liked me, and he was able to keep me at the station, and I didn't have to go back to the jail. So, but it made me stay up there went from 2 years. I ended up being up there for 5 years.
Wow. But the other thing you're talking about too, that driving back and forth, and you're driving your own personal vehicle with the price of gas in California, it had to be frickin' killing you.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then, like I said, I was driving an H2 at the time, and it was about 50, 60.
Were you getting 4 miles to the gallon?
Yeah, they said it averages 10, but that's
definitely
a lie. Not a lie. Yeah, it was like 6. Yeah,
just the minute you just leave in an intersection, put your foot in it to accelerate, you could just watch the gas gauge just drop on those things.
Oh yeah, I think because that was like 2008 when it was probably the gas prices what they are now. And so I ended up renting a house up there in Big Bear, and so I could stay there. But I really didn't like staying up there. It was just wasn't fun. So I'd stay there during the work week, and then I'd go back down and stay at my parents' house on the weekend.
Well, just the savings in gas, man. You could have bought a mansion for what you were paying a year in gas, man. So, so what happened to keep you up there? So, like, I mean, you had your 2 years coming up, but did you stay on patrol, or you actually? We talked about you started looking at doing different things, and there was one big goal you wanted to do that your brothers did, and so let's talk about that. So, what were you doing so that you could get into the place you wanted to be?
Yeah, so my ultimate goal was to get onto our Specialized Enforcement Division, which is our department SWAT team. When I started patrol, my brother had transferred to that division, my oldest brother Ryan, and he was a detective over there for several years. And then, why I ended up staying in Big Bear is because there was just kind of nowhere for me to go at that time with all the guys getting sent back to the jail just when we went to those 12s. So there was...
Why did they go to the 12-hour shifts? Was it a money issue? Was it just a staffing issue? Were they trying to, what problem were they trying to solve? Because look, a lot of people don't realize, but 12-hour shifts, that means you got 12 hours plus you got paperwork. And so by the time you get done trying to drive back and then come back, you'd lucky if you'd get 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I think it was just more cost effective. And I like the 12s a lot better than the 10s. You get the 3 and then 4 days off. So that's nice. And then how it works out, you have your shift, so you work with all the guys. But before it was like, a couple guys would work like Monday through Thursday. Some guys would work, Tuesday through Friday, and it was just kind of hit and miss. But now everyone, you're working Tuesday through Friday, or Friday through Tuesday, and it's all the same guys, same sergeant. So I like that a little bit better.
So what days did you have off when you were on the 312s?
We would rotate every 3 months. I like swing shift was probably the best. That's the one thing that kind of sucks. We don't have the swing shift anymore with the 12s, but that was probably my favorite.
So what was it, 7 to 7, 6 to 6?
When we were working the swing shift, I think it was, what did we do, like 5 to 2 or something like that?
No, I meant, but when you went to the 12-hour shifts, how would they split you up?
Oh, yeah. So it was 7 to 7.
Man, I'm telling you, that's rough on the body. I mean, the state patrol, they used to do some crazy shit. We would work 3 nights, 3 days, 3 days off, 3 nights, 3 days, 3 days off, 3 nights, 4 days, 3 days, 4 nights, 3 days, 3 days off, stuff like that. And you'd be going to work on a Friday night at 6, getting off at 3, 4 in the morning, doing the same thing Saturday, Sunday, 4 to 1. Monday, you'd have to be back to work at 9 a.m. Tuesday, you'd be going to work at 7 a.m. Wednesday, you'd be going to work at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And you do that in the span and they wonder why cops had sleeping problems and weight problems and shit,
Yeah.
I think they fixed that. They've gone to the permanent, or at least standard shifts, so that you don't have to do that screwy stuff. But during that time, were you single? What point during this did you get married?
I got married in 2011.
And who did you find that was crazy enough to say, yeah, here's a guy who owns an H2, spends $50 a day in gas. He's obviously going to make good life choices for me.
Yeah, I met her in high school, so I got her a little bit early. So, but yeah, my wife, we dated in high school, and she lived at her parents, was going to school. I lived at my parents, was, pretending I was going to school, mostly hungover, but yeah.
What did she think of your, she obviously, if she dated you for that long, she knew that you wanted to join the sheriff's office. What did she think of that?
Yeah, she thought it was a good career and stuff like that. She probably, I don't know, didn't wish I made more money or something. I don't know, but, she's happy now.
Well, if you hadn't bought an H2, you might have had money to take her out to dinner, you cheap ass.
That was my problem. I spent all my money on going out and buying drinks and stuff. Yeah. But she manages the money. She's a little bit better at it than I am. So, yeah. I just swipe that card till it, starts beeping and tells me I have no more money. So.
My wife says, I know we have money. I still have checks. I'm going, that's not the way it works, honey.
I got a kid or two that thinks that.
Oh, my God. Yeah, what? Still must work. The card, I still have the card. It still must work. So, Well, let's talk about then. So you're there. What's your next? So you go to the patrol. Now, the one thing we did talk about that the sheriff's office does, and I want people to understand, there's a lot of cities, not just California, but a lot of places throughout the United States that don't have the money to have their own city police department, so they contract with the sheriff's office. So let's talk about some of the contract policing that the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office would do. What kind of cities would you guys provide it to? Would it be a city or would it be an area? And did you ever work at it? Was the area you were in, was that a contract city?
Yeah, so we have cities have their local police departments and stuff like that, but this area we contract most with those cities. I'm not obviously a city planner or anything like that, how it works, but it would make more sense, right? So we have our county SWAT team, our homicide team, our evidence division, and all that other stuff, and then our county jails. So yeah, they will contract police services, but it's like I said, 13 contract cities. So each station has a captain, a lieutenant, and then the captain would be like the police chief, and then we cover obviously the county areas.
Well, how does that work though? Because when you have a city police department, you think that, hey, you're going to be responsive to my city, and it's kind of like you're accountable to the citizens of that city, but you guys have countywide jurisdiction. So did they give you the mentality is that, hey, when you do this contract policing, you are operating as an effective police force, or are you a deputy that's just operating in a city? And because there has to be some dynamics that go with that, some issues you got to resolve with the town.
Yeah, it's just the police. I mean, like our cars say police on the side of them and stuff like that. So
Oh, they do.
uh-huh. Yeah, I know. Like back east, a lot of like sheriff's office are kind of different. Like I know some of them only do like jail stuff or custody stuff or the court stuff. But yeah, it's just the same thing. And then like again, they go to the sheriff's department academy and do that. So yeah, but yeah, police. And then Big Bear is we actually had it was a city of Big Bear Lake, so it was a contract city with them. And then it was we had the county area of Big Bear City that we would cover. So, but yeah, I mean, like they don't want like because our cars, the city was obviously pay for those cars, like, and those deputies and stuff like that. So if you're working the city, you pretty much stay in the city unless something major happens. And then, the city doesn't want to see, their Big Bear Lake vehicles off-roading in like the county area or something like that. So
Unless you have an H2 Hummer, right, that says police on the side.
yeah.
You can go through that stuff.
Yeah.
So what was your next major position after? So you're on patrol, right? So you wanted to get into special enforcement, but what's the path to get there? What other position did you end up getting into?
Yeah. So when I ended up staying in Big Bear, because I was there, by this time it was like, I think I was there for like 3.5, 4 years. So my next goal was to make detective. And then, because at the time, that was all that was pretty much at any of these specialized divisions was detectives. So that was the goal. And you have to have, I think it's 3 years on patrol before you can start testing for that. So I went in there and I would talk to our lieutenant and captain and stuff, and I put so much time into that station, and if I transferred, I'd kind of be starting all over again and be back at the bottom as a new guy. So it just kind of made more sense just to stay there and try and get promoted out of there. So my captain, we had a new captain come in, and awesome guy. His name's Tom Bradford. He's since retired, and we got along great. The guys that I worked with were great. I think there was only 23 deputies assigned to the station at that time.
So it made your odds of getting detective pretty good, right?
Well, yeah. So and that's it. Yeah. So at that station though, but when you get detective, they pull from county.
They can pull from all over the county.
Yeah. So they pull from everybody, and then where there was a open spot. So
yeah, but that was unusual, you said, right? Or was that for that position? Because normally, if you make like a promotion, which detective would be a promotion, they normally move you out. Is that just for the corporal or sergeant for the supervisory positions, or is that their philosophy behind detectives that if you get it, they would prefer you to move to another station and start your duties there?
Yeah. So most of the time they will. They'll promote you and then move you somewhere else, whether it's specialized or another. So if you're a deputy and you make detective, they may throw you at another patrol station as that station detective, and then you work there for a little bit, and then you could either transfer to a specialized division, whether it be homicide or narcotics or gangs or specialized enforcement.
So did you get any training, specialized training when you made detective? Did they send you to another school or another training thing, or was that more OJT since you were out, since you're, kind of a ways out there?
Yeah. So when I didn't get promoted at that time prior to the shooting or anything. So I was in Group 1 for detective, so they had a spot where they let me be like it's called acting detective, where you go up there, you go in the detective's office, and you get cases, and you're just kind of a patrol, or you're a deputy, just kind of filling that role. Just it's a
Right.
yeah. So it was really good. And one of my patrol partners, Jeremy King, we were patrol together for a long time, and always took care of me, looked after me. And he promoted, I think, 6 months prior, and he actually got to stay at the Big Bear Station. He lived up there for a long time. And then our captain was actually his patrol sergeant at that station prior, so he loved him. So he stayed up there, and then I got to be partners with him at the Big Bear Station as an acting detective.
Well, you and Murph got something in common. He acted like a DEA. He was acting as a DEA agent for a lot of years too. I don't know if you ever really became one. Did you, Murph? Did you really get the full role?
Well, I was one of the token. They needed a hillbilly, so that was me.
Cross between the West Virginia and the Tennessee kid.
That's right. You got to know what you are, redneck hillbilly. I cover two. I can cover two areas that way.
You can, and you cover two classes of people we can promote. So redneck and hillbilly.
And we're still rated way above troopers, so hey, I'm good.
Yeah, that's in your dreams. Remember hashtag Drew Hogan. He couldn't make it to the state patrol. The only place he could make it was DEA. Remember that, Murph?
Oh yeah.
We'll tell you about that story in a little bit. A guy who claimed credit for capturing El Chapo, when he really didn't. So. But Alex, going back, so I didn't realize. Okay, I kind of missed that then from the call. You were just acting detective, when this was going on. So let's start setting the context now, because by this time you got on in 2007, right? Finally made it out onto the road in 2008.
Yep.
Yeah, and so you're out now for about 4 years, 4.5 years. When this whole incident, basically, the issue with Dorner started obviously well before that. So let's give folks some quick context, because I know you've got a whole presentation. But before we actually get into the events that happened, which started in February of 2013, let's set some context for who Christopher Dorner was.
Okay. Yeah. So he was tried to be a LAPD officer, and that didn't work for him. But prior to that, he was in the Navy Reserves, and then he applied in 2005 with LAPD, and then he got called to active duty, I think, right after the academy in 2006 with LA. So he goes on deployment for about a year. He had a bunch of stuff on his Facebook that he'd deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, and stuff like that, but he didn't. I think all those pictures were taken out here in the local desert with his own gear and stuff like that. So just kind of like a wannabe, I would assume. So he did that year deployment, came back, and then started his FTO program with Teresa Evans. She was his field training officer. So he's on FTO with Evans. And this is all stuff that
this is all open source. This is all public record stuff, and it came out in the aftermath, during the investigation. So this is like the stuff you're giving. We just want everybody to know there's nothing confidential here that we're telling the public.
No. And then I don't have any direct knowledge from with LAPD or anything like that, or any inside information with them. So Dorner was on FTO, and it looked like he was gonna fail. Wasn't passing his training, wasn't responding to training, and he was getting his weekly evals, and it looked like he was his marks were way down, and he was going to get fired. So right after he got his performance evaluation from Evans, he contacts his supervisor, and he said just accused Officer Evans of kicking a handcuffed subject that they dealt with. I think it was a mentally ill guy they detained for 5150 hold.
And just to put it into context now, we're and this is based, thank you for your notes too, and we did our research too, but that was June 28th, 2007. So this whole thing, this whole history with Dorner has a very long arc before we get to 2013. So this guy goes for a lot of years, right? But tell everybody too, so you can't use code. You freaking feds and you people in California use 180. Everybody knows what a 187 PC is, because we all watch Dragnet, in 1 Atom 12, right? But what's a 5150 hold?
Yeah, that's just a mental health evaluation, a 72-hour, where our code, our welfare institution code, that we can detain them and bring them to a mental health hospital for 72 hours for them to be evaluated.
Fuck, I'm staying out of California then, man. I might not make it out.
Oh yeah. If you're a danger to yourself or others, we can do that.
Have you seen Murphy Drive? He's a danger to everybody.
Well, maybe according to a trooper, just because you guys can't keep up.
We rode. He was so nice. He came down and gave me and my wife a ride from the airport after we had taken our first vacation in a year and a half. We came back from Cancun. It was a shit show. We should have gone up to the other level, but man, it's the international terminal, and Murph pulls up in his huge Ford F-150. We're throwing her in the vehicle. We're throwing luggage in the back, and what did it take you, like a half hour to get around just the loop to get there, I think?
Yeah, the Dulles Airport sucks. When it's busy, when it's not busy, it's not bad. But when the traffic's out there and all those idiots.
Yeah, Orlando's figured it out. Orlando Airport. Again, there we could digress again. We're back there. So, but yeah, so the reason we were saying that is too because this whole thing with him starts in June 28th of 2007, right? So let's continue on there from Alex. So, he kind of has his issues. He gets kicked out, and then what happens next?
So it opens an internal affairs investigation. They investigate it. They found out that Dorner,
they investigate the officer Evans, right?
Yeah, they do. It's just an incident with Dorner accused of her, hitting someone that was handcuffed. So they goes to IA. They investigate it, do their interviews, and during the internal investigation, Dorner was represented by former LAPD Captain Randall Kwan. And from what I've been told is that Captain Kwan did like a really good job. I think he became an attorney once he retired and represent officers. From what I've been told, he did a really good job and did everything he could to, have Dorner keep his job and stuff like that. But they found out Dorner was lying and made the incident up, and Dorner was subsequently fired in 2008.
So now we're talking September. So it takes June, July, August, and into September. And the bad part too is Officer Evans. She's kind of sidelined. She can't do squat. She's under investigation. And everything, I mean, no extra duty, no other stuff. She just kind of probably an admin position or desk position when stuff like that happens?
I don't know how LAPD does that. And then for us, depending on, what the accusations are with that, sometimes you can continue to work. Sometimes, they'll put you on admin leave. So I don't know.
Just kind of depends upon the seriousness of the charge and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, with that, and then Dorner was LAPD does a little bit different. They have like their Board of Rights hearing where they take like random commanders or captains, and I think they present the case and stuff like that, and then that group decides if the officer is going to get terminated or not.
Well, and I think just for people's timeline to flesh this out, he gets fired in September of 2008. He appeals this. This goes all the way through court, and it's in 2011. Finally, it makes court, and he is shot down again. I mean, he's like, that's it. You've got your appeal, is denied. He's basically run out of action. So 3 years there. And so this goes for another 2 years, I think, doesn't it? Until this is kind of when he stews on this for a couple years until February of 2013.
Yeah, he has a couple years, gets his, puts his manifesto out that all the people he's going to get revenge and he felt had wronged him. And yeah.
Well, that manifesto is available out there on the interwebs if you guys search for it, but it's chilling. I mean, I just read some of it, not only in yours, but some of the news reports. But basically, he says, I'll be waiting for a public response at a press conference. When the truth comes out, the killing stops. He's warning people right now. He's going to kill until whatever his version of the truth is that comes out. And it's one of those things. We looked at the Parkland High School shooting. There were indications that kid had talked about it. We've seen where other kids have and posted stuff. And I just don't know. I mean, it's one of those things you wonder, did I, it's hard because there's so much stuff on Facebook. Did they miss this? Was anybody aware of this? And if so, what did you guys even, was there any kind of an alert put out to you guys, or did you guys just, was this something you guys didn't know about in San Bernardino when this was going on?
Yeah, he didn't post it until the day after he ended up doing his first two murders. So it wasn't, he didn't post it till he killed the first two people.
I was going to say, in his manifesto, other than wanting his version of the truth, was there anything else he was demanding? I mean, he's saying that, the killing stops when the truth comes out. Was he think he's going to walk away from murder?
I think he was just freaking crazy. I think he's a nut.
Well, one of the real sad parts about this too, yeah, you're right. It's right. Yeah, he puts that out the day after, but the day before, February 3rd. This is the one that, so the reason that you mentioned Randall Kwan is there is a tie-in to the first set of victims that are discovered from this, aren't there?
Yeah, so Dorner, I think somewhere in the manifesto, he puts out that he's not going to kill them directly. He's going to get them where it hurts, and he's going to kill their family members. So they have to suffer like how he suffered or something like that. But yeah, so the city of Irvine, which is a really nice city. So they respond to a double homicide in a apartment parking complex. When the officers get there, they find the female, I think might have been in the driver's seat, and that was Monica Kwan, the daughter of Randall Kwan, and her fiance Keith Lawrence, and they were both shot to death sitting in their vehicle.
And the father knew something was going on because he kept trying to get a hold of his daughter and couldn't get a hold of it. Then he hears his reports, and his worry was, he was concerned that it was his daughter. And what a hell of a way to find out. You're watching the news reports and you're seeing this go on, and you're going, because now he's got the tie-in. I mean, I don't know if he knew it at the time, but you kind of wonder why would Dorner pick him to go after first? Because by all accounts, whether the news reports, and what you said, the captain, the Randall Kwan, he did his best for Dorner. I mean, he represented him kind of the same way John Adams represented the British troops, after the Boston Massacre. It's like he did his job. You wonder what makes these guys twist off to where they want to hold the guy that defended him accountable.
I guess Dorner felt that he didn't do a good enough job or didn't care enough about his case.
Yeah, and these jerks, they never accept responsibility for their own actions. It's always somebody else's problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Somebody no way it could be me. It's everybody else's fault. I was denied this, denied that. Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing too is that, like according to your notes here too, they found 14 9mm casings. I mean, he just didn't shoot them. I mean, when you see that number of rounds and stuff, it's personal. He obviously definitely made it personal, because that, not to coin a phrase, but that was overkill is exactly what it was. You didn't need 14 rounds.
Yeah, shot him with a suppressed 9mm pistol, and he was doing surveillance on them. Obviously found out where they lived. He knew where, I think she was a basketball coach for a local college. And I think he ended up calling there and was asking some of the staff about if they had an away game or when they're going to come back or along those lines. But yeah, he was definitely putting in work to find these people.
Think about it as a father. And all three of us are fathers. And just think, because of our job, one of our children, was assassinated. I can't imagine what her dad must have gone through. That's horrible.
Well, it's horrendous too. And then when you start listening to this, you start realizing, I mean, this is the whole setup for why this thing, number one, was such a national story. But number two, he really is, in a sense, using maybe some of his military training. It's asymmetric warfare. I mean, the cops usually aren't the hunted ones. They're not the prey. And he's trying to turn the tables and make everybody worry, especially the cops, that he's coming after. And he says that. He says he's coming after you next. He says you're not going to be safe. You want that Medal of Valor? The only way you're going to get it is by dying. Don't stop me. Don't try and do anything.
Yeah, and I mean, coming after us is one thing, but coming after our families, that takes it to a whole new level.
But that was the whole element of fear he was also instilling, which is, it's not just me, it's you got to worry about everybody. So, but that happens on Sunday, February 3rd. And so the other thing though too is there was an interesting find on February 4th, Alex, kind of in a dumpster. What was that?
Yeah, so a National City police officer, kind of right down there in the San Diego area, he found a duty belt, a bunch of police stuff, a notepad, and a uniform name tag from LAPD with the name Dorner on it, and a dumpster behind a business. So that officer, he ends up contacting LAPD, and I think he assumed that an LAPD officer had gotten their car broken into, and gives them the name Dorner. They look into it and they find out, obviously Dorner had this history with LA, and that's when they start putting the pieces together. And then that's when they find out that Dorner posted this manifesto on his Facebook page, and then tie him as the suspect for Monica Kwan and Keith Lawrence's murder.
And part of this that may have triggered this too, and we wanted to add that date in there too, is that February 1st, the day, 2 days before, 3 days before this all starts, um, Dorner discharges honorably from the Navy. So now he's been in the Navy the whole time. Now he's out. Now I think he's been putting together his plan. February 3rd, you got the couple folks. You've got Monica Kwan and Keith Lawrence killed in Irvine. But February 5th, this is the other thing when we're pulling up some additional research. I think you were talking earlier was a truck. Is actually what he was trying to steal was he was looking at, or he was down at the Navy Hotel in San Diego. And I think they were trying to figure out where he was at and why, but he still had an ID card. He still had some stuff down there. So he was down in San Diego, after this stuff happened. So how far of a drive is it from Irvine to San Diego?
I think it probably might be maybe, I don't know, with traffic and everything, maybe about 45 minutes, an hour.
Okay, yeah. So not really that much then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's announced as a suspect, but then again, this was the attempted boat theft then in San Diego. So he tried to steal a boat from somebody in San Diego. He failed and fled, and later they find a wallet with his ID and an LAPD detective's badge near the San Diego airport, which makes you think is that, hey man, he's trying to impersonate cops, maybe to get closer. So as this timeline continues on, the thing we're seeing, he's trying to impersonate a cop. He's got the detective's badge. You found all of that stuff. I'm surprised. Well, before we get into the next part, I'm surprised, Alex, that he threw away his uniform and stuff, and through all of that stuff. It's like he continuously, it seems, through this whole incident, gets rid of or disposes of guns, ammunition, lots of stuff that you thought he would want to hang on to.
Yeah, just kind of weird. And this with National City, it just kind of seems like he was like trying to get, they would find out who he was, and that he was. They would eventually see his manifesto on his Facebook page and stuff like that. So.
Well, so anyway, so when we move forward, right? So like February 6th, they announce him as a suspect. They announce threats. They say authorities named Dorner a suspect in the Irvine killings. They said he issued a multi-page manifesto complaining of his treatment in LAPD, and he made violent threats against LAPD officers. So they assign officers to protect those connected to the threats, which factors in here. And just a little bit later, there's an attempted boat theft in San Diego. He tried to steal a boat from somebody. So if you're trying to make a statement, I know you can't answer, but it's just more of maybe a question to throw out there is, why the hell would you steal a boat if you're trying to stay in the area? And I guess he could have taken the boat right up the coast from San Diego up to LA or Oceanside or wherever else.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. Yeah, he tried to get that boat, and I think he had some some scuba diving equipment that he left on that boat as well. He actually got on the boat, and then I think he didn't untie the rope or something like that, and ended up getting caught in the propeller. And but yeah,
fucking Navy guy, he can't even steal a fucking boat. No wonder he got Jesus. And folks might think, hey, no, we're saying that in the most disrespectful way against this guy, because after all this time, this tells you what kind of a guy he was. If he's in the Navy and he can't even figure out how to unmoor the boat, untie the boat and, get it out into the water, Jesus. So, but now, so we start on the 3rd. We've got the shootings, right? So, because I just want to kind of keep things. Dorner leaves Navy on the 1st. 2 people are killed on the 3rd. Monica Kwan and her fiance Keith Lawrence. The 6th, they announce him as a suspect. They put the case together. He tries to steal the boat on the 6th. So now we go to the 7th, and there is this is where these officers now are protecting people, and Dorner encounters them in the suburb of Corona, right?
Yeah, so LAPD, Dorner has his targets who he's going to get revenge on. So LAPD sends protection details, throughout Los Angeles County. I think there are some in Ventura County to set up at these high-ranking officials' houses associated with the LAPD.
Well, it looks like so he shot at the officers, right? But they were actually very lucky because one of them got grazed in the head. I mean, you just think just an inch the other way, and that round's going through his head instead of past his head.
Yeah, so they were on their way to a protection detail in Corona, and they get flagged down at a gas station by a tow truck driver who saw Dorner's Nissan pickup truck and flagged the officers down, told them like, hey, that was Dorner in that vehicle. They attempt to follow Dorner, and I think he took off, went on a freeway overpass, stopped his truck, and got out with his AR and fired about 30 rounds into their patrol vehicle.
You know, this guy is just so brazen in terms of what he's doing. It's just a wonder. Well, first of all, it's a wonder more people didn't die because of what he did, because he didn't care. I mean, this guy was just out. He was taking on, and that's the thing too is, how did that change? When is the first time you heard about the Dorner case? Let's put a pin here before we go too much further. When's the first time you heard about Dorner, Alex?
It was probably on the 6th when I remember the news and everything. When he was down in, they thought he was in that hotel down in San Diego. But it made national news just with everything, because he was sending, I think he sent that challenge coin that he received from LAPD to like Anderson Cooper and stuff like that. So
he shot that up, didn't he, too?
Yeah, had a bullet hole through it and stuff. So he was doing that kind of stuff, and anything with a former police officer, especially LAPD, they get a lot of media attention.
And what were you doing on February 6th?
I was off on maternity leave. My wife had just given birth to our first son, so I was at home hanging out and watching TV or something.
So did you think it was going to get to your area at all, or did you think, it's another news thing, they'll catch him pretty soon, and that's the end of it?
Yeah, not initially. I just again figured it was something happened down in there that area, and then not till the 7th when he was in the city of Riverside.
How far is Riverside from where you were at?
So our county borders Riverside County. So I mean, it could be from our central station, which is over there. It could be 10, 15 minutes.
So I mean, this now what I guess the point we're making is geographically this starts becoming very close to home. He shoots 2 police officers, kills 1 in Riverside, and now this is really getting close to home. It's not LAPD, which is farther north and west from you guys.
Yeah, so it would just be northwest. But yeah, so as soon as the 2 Corona officers from LA got shot. So the problem with that was when they were doing that protection detail, they were in obviously a different city, and radio communications were an issue. So they can't directly contact, the city of Corona's dispatch that's going to go through LA. And I think they ended up using a cell phone to call 911 and put that information out that Dorner just engaged them and was in that area.
Well, communications, that's going to be a key issue too. We'll talk about that later too, because when you're in Big Bear and up in the mountains and stuff, communications is always an issue, whether it's cell or radio, or anything else. And obviously this thing was an issue, but the officer who died is Michael Crane. He'd been on the force for 11 years. The other officer survived and recovered. But that's not where it stopped. Like I said, remember, this kind of sets the stage for something else too. So everybody's getting nervous. Everybody's getting attacked by airplanes. Is that airplanes or is that a lawnmower?
That is a street sweeper.
I've got the airplanes.
No wonder you guys have such clean streets. So here's the funny part, folks. Just that you're listening to this, I'm just going to leave this in. So Alex has got his laptop. He has to sit in the vehicle because it's not his normal one he uses. So the charger is back at the office. The charger he's got is made for the vehicle, not for the house. So he's got to run out, fire up his fuel-efficient H2 Hummer, which gets 0 miles to the gallon.
I wish I still had that thing.
Hey man, well, yeah, I thought you guys in California were environmentally friendly and conscious about stuff. But
no, not in San Bernardino County. I think we're the last cowboy county left. So
what happened to Orange County?
I don't make enough money to live there. So, yeah.
All right. So now that the street sweeper has cleaned all the streets, and you guys have a pristine looking area, let's go back to that, because like I said, this thing starts getting people, everybody's on edge now. It's like you start seeing things that maybe aren't there. And so tell us what happens in Torrance, because there's a case of mistaken identity that happens.
Yeah, so just kind of what I saw on the news. So LAPD's, this is several days later, while we're doing the manhunt in Big Bear. So they're on a protection detail on a captain's house in the city of Torrance. And then there's 2 newspaper ladies driving down the street early morning hours, and they believe that it's Dorner coming to kill this. Because
the newspaper people, sometimes they drive across the street, to throw the papers and come back. You know?
So I don't know exactly what happened, but the LAPD ended up firing a bunch of rounds into the newspaper vehicle, or the newspaper lady's vehicle, and there's 2 occupants in there, and I think one of them was like grazed in the back or something like that, but just did not look good. And just with all this stuff going on, especially after Officer Crane and Officer Takias were shot, just was not good.
Yeah, it says right here in the reporting. This is from Charlie Beck. Actually, I've met Charlie Beck a few times. He was chief of the LAPD. LAPD officers assigned to protect someone who was under the most serious levels of threat saw a vehicle early in the morning that looked like Dorner's. Beck said, he said the vehicle was moving down a street with its lights off. So moving down a street, its lights off. A lot of those newspaper folks will also cross the center line, to throw papers. I mean, you don't want to say you can see how it happened, but you can see how it happened, and it's. I feel really bad for the people involved. Fortunately, they were injured, not killed. I'm sure that the taxpayers, though, of California forked out some bucks on that shooting.
Oh yeah.
Would you tell us, Alex, during the pre-call that it was something like 16 million or something?
Yeah, they got quite a bit of money.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. So, but this is what happens. Imagine how jumpy and how on edge everybody is, because this is not the type of threats cops were used to having. They weren't used to having them made to them directly, indiscriminately. You could be sitting at a light, like the officers from Riverside were, and be shot up. You know.
And those Riverside officers. So that bolo hadn't even gone out yet from the city of or from the shooting in Corona. So Officer Takias pulls up to a red light. Dorner's directly across from them in the intersection, sees a marked patrol vehicle, runs a red light, goes through the intersection, and pulls up next to them parallel, and hangs his AR out the window and fires directly into the driver's side window of that patrol vehicle.
Boy, that takes a real man, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
And with that dash camera video, Officer Takias was shot several times in the shoulders and the legs. So his foot came off the brake, and his vehicle rolled through the intersection on that. And a taxi cab driver that actually saw the whole thing happen ran out and put his head in through the driver window and put the patrol vehicle in park, and it was able to. Officer Takias told him to pick his radio microphone up off the dash and put it towards his mouth and hold the button so he could put out that he was just shot. And he didn't know it was Dorner or anything like that. And then as the car's rolling through the intersection, you can actually hear the radio transmission that Dorner had just shot at 2 LAPD officers in the city of Corona. So it was very quick from the Corona to the Riverside.
So this is getting close to the point, right, when you get involved, because at some point they find his truck on fire in your county.
Yeah, so he shot Officer Crane, killing Officer Crane, who left behind a wife and 2 children, and then severely wounded Takias, and that was in the early morning hours of February 7th. So I remember I was watching the news, and I see this is all over the news, the Riverside officers, and then some of the guys I knew from my department were out there helping out at the scene. My brother Ryan had just recently got promoted from our SVD team to sergeant, and he actually was stationed in Big Bear as a patrol watch commander. So I called him just to see what was going on. We talked to each other almost every day. So I called him, and he's kind of whispering on the phone, and he goes, "Hey, I think we found Dorner's truck up here in Big Bear." And I'm like, "What the heck?" And he's like, "Hey, I can't talk. I got to go." And he hangs up. I'm like, "Man, that's crazy. Nothing happens in Big Bear. Like, what the hell is Dorner doing in Big Bear?" So what we later find out that Dorner shoots the 2 Riverside officers, drives up to Big Bear, goes on a Forest Service road, ends up crashing his truck into a tree stump or a down tree, ends up breaking the axle on his vehicle and lights his truck on fire. Inside the truck were a couple ARs, another pistol, and some ammunition and camping gear. So he did that in the early morning hours on Thursday, February 7th. And so no one really called the vehicle fire in because the Forest Service was doing controlled burns on the ridge just behind that Forest Service road where Dorner's truck was. So they just thought it was the Forest Service doing controlled burns out there. And then I think an employee of Bear Mountain Ski Resort, which is right off that mountain road, ended up finding Dorner's vehicle and calling it in.
What's the weather like at this time up there? It's February, so it's got to be kind of cold. But have you guys got snow yet, or what's the deal?
Yeah, so there was a little bit of snow. It wasn't currently snowing during that day, but there was snow on the ground.
Now you're sitting at home with your wife, your brand new son. At this point, how old is your son?
I think he's 2 weeks.
You're getting cabin fever, aren't you?
Oh, big time. Yeah, I was ready to go back to work. I think I only planned on taking 3 weeks off, anyways. Again, like it was our first son, so my parents are over there all the time, and first grandkid on my wife's side. So yeah, mother-in-law was staying over there every night, and which was good, but I was missing my boys. So yeah.
It's funny you say that. And people don't quite understand this, but my wife used to say my favorite day of the week was Monday morning because I got to go back to work from the weekend. It just kind of goes along with this job. It's the culture. You want to get back out there.
Yep, absolutely.
So when did shit get real that, hey, man, this is really going to affect us? Was that when you heard about the discovery, when you called your brother and you found out the truck was arming? Because that's not like being even in Riverside, even though it's 15, 20 minutes away, you got a huge county. I mean, this is now like, man, this is my backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. And then especially knowing my brother's up there and they found his truck, and I just immediately start worrying about him. I call my brother Matt, who was at that time was a detective on our SED team, and he told me him and his team are on their way up there, that they just found Dorner's truck, or they think it's Dorner's truck, because it was kind of down in this ravine area, and they didn't want to make an approach. They didn't know if Dorner was waiting there to ambush him. That's why he lit it on fire, was waiting for law enforcement response or something like that. So it took some time to actually make the approach, find the vehicle, and then confirm that it was Dorner's truck.
Well, let me ask you first of all, in Big Bear, what was the biggest crimes that you guys were typically investigating? Were y'all doing murders and armed robberies and kidnappings and things like that?
No, I mean, we had our typical convenience store robberies and stuff like that, but it was mainly just street level drug stuff, a lot of residential burglaries, just stuff like that.
So a relatively quiet post to have.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. It's a really nice community, really really nice area. Like I said, they have the two major ski resorts up there. It was a really nice place to work.
And now all of a sudden you got this cop killer up there that's looking to kill more cops.
Yeah, absolutely. And then now both my brothers are up there. So I was again, I was, like I said, I was in that station detective position. So I called our detective sergeant. He knew I was off, obviously, and asked him if he wanted me to come in, which he said yes, and I was going to come in anyways, even if he said no. So I called.
I don't know. Most people think we're crazy for stuff like this, but this is a major activity, and your brother cops out there are in danger, and you just want to get back in there and be a part of it. You
want to get in the game.
As crazy as that might sound, and I'll guarantee you Morgan's the exact same way. You just want to get back out there. You don't want to miss the action.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially not only my, fellow deputies and stuff, but my actual brothers being up there and stuff. And like you said, it's, my backyard, that's my station. I was very proud to work that station, did everything I could while
that's
I was
just
there.
Additional stress knowing your brothers are out there. Your biological brothers.
Yeah.
Biological. Hey, and let's put this in context too, Alex. Murph was kind of hitting on it, but I want to put a fine point on it. In the entire time you were signed at Big Bear, had you guys had any homicides?
No, not that I can remember that we did.
So when you say it was a safe, kind of a quiet area, I mean, you're talking about this is, like I said, you get this quality of life, but you guys hadn't dealt with a real huge major critical incident from a criminal standpoint until this kind of came along, like in the 3 or 4 years that you were there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, let me ask you a little bit differently. How do you prepare yourself for something when you've never been involved in something that big before? How do you start preparing yourself mentally? Because you've been up there, obviously you're in shape, but it's like, it's not like you're working in the highest crime rate area of San Bernardino City or Victorville City or, anything like that, the areas you're talking about. You're working in an area that would be like the equivalent of Mayberry RFD. How do you get yourself geared up to get into this game?
Yeah, with that, I mean, I was, how old was I? Like 25, 26. So at that, you think you're invincible anyways. We're trained very well with our department. We take that very serious. We get paid pretty well out here in California, so we're expected to perform, to that standard. And again, like I was pretty fairly new with this, and it was something I've never seen before. And I know like a lot of guys hadn't dealt with anything to this magnitude. It was, the largest manhunt in Southern California history.
So walk us through your next set of actions then. So how does your wife take this? Because I mean, most cops' wives are like, okay, just don't get your ass shot. I'll see you at home later. Just be safe. How did your wife react to this when you just said, "Hey, honey, week early, but I'm heading out of the house. We got this going on." Was she worried? Was she concerned, or was she more like, yeah, it's just another day at the office for you?
Yeah, I don't remember her being too concerned or worried about it. I just remember I was so focused on shaving my little beard that I had going on for the past 2 weeks off, and
Your dad beard.
yeah. So yeah, and I called my partner King. He was actually on vacation at the time, and he was down at Newport Beach with his wife and kids. So I called him. He's like, "Hey, I'm on my way to your house. He lived in Big Bear. He's like, my wife's gonna drop me off at your house so we can go into work together, and then they're gonna go back to the beach and continue out their vacation." Cause it's kind of that same attitude, like, all right, cool, like be safe, but we're not giving up our vacation for this guy and stuff like that.
So this is February 7th is when this starts for you then, right?
Yes.
So let's walk through the rest of the day of February 7th. What happens on the 7th?
So on the 7th, I get there. We have our command post set up at Bear Mountain Ski Resort. They have a 9-hole golf course, which is closed during the winter. So we set up our command post in the clubhouse of the golf course. And we do have a fairly large department, so we did keep everything in house, and we had all our specialized divisions and extra patrol bodies up there. And
how many people at the height of this would you say that you had?
Oh, gee, I mean, it's in the hundreds probably, with extra patrol. Our 4 SVD teams up there, our narcotics divisions, our gang divisions, from each station, all our extra bodies. So at the station level, we'll have our station level gang teams, or your school resource officers, or any other extra positions that
anybody who's not pulling a shift and working the road and covering a beat is going to be pulled out and heading up there.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. So you guys are you're getting geared up. So how do you guys coordinate your activities? I mean, there's something else too, though, I want you to tell people about too, because you had a captain that was old school, and you weren't just an acting detective. He considered you a detective. So even though it's cold, even though it's snowy, even though it sucks, how were you expected to dress?
Oh yeah, he was a homicide detective for a really long time. Went back to homicide as a sergeant, so his detectives were in suits, shirt and a tie.
And how well did that work for you? It's like you weren't that rich to begin with, so you couldn't have had that many suits.
I had a couple that I had getting ready for this position, so I was okay. But yeah, I think after it was okay on Thursday and Friday, and Saturday morning it started snowing. So I ran out of suits, I think, on day 5, or shirt and ties, and I was kind of fed up with my leather dress shoes were all ruined from us walking around in the snow and stuff like that.
While the SWAT guys and the other people, they've got the cold weather gear and they're nice and comfy and their boots and everything. And you guys are traipsing around like a bunch of what we used to call remps, rear echelon motherfuckers, just coming out in your patent leather shoes going, "We got it, boys. It's all good."
Yeah. We're here for the photo op.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Those SWAT guys, man, they had a little rough out there. They're out there hiking in the snow, and it was pretty bad.
I saw some of the pictures of them with the balaclavas on, and the full face covering, and did they just look like snow bunnies? Just it was. So, but let's stay on the timeline though, because the 7th, really, you guys are just getting geared up. You get out there. Does much happen on the 7th other than you guys you're getting intel and you're trying to coordinate your searches? Are there any major events that happen on the 7th?
No, there's really no major events really at all. Just we were following up some leads and stuff like that, and it took a long time to get that truck out of there. They had to hook it up to a chain, hook it up to our armored rescue vehicle, and drag it out. and they ended up confirming it was Dorner's truck on the hidden VIN because it was so badly, so it was burnt all the
Yeah,
way
man,
down.
just looking at the picture here, man, it's torched. I mean, I've worked arsons and vehicle fires and at bad accidents and stuff, and sometimes you got to go find that VIN that's stamped onto the frame or whatever else just to identify the vehicle, because that fuel, and they do when the tires catch on, that rubber tires, they burn forever.
Yeah,
and just black smoke.
We had to call one of the highway patrol guys over there to find the hidden VIN on it for us, so just to confirm that it was his vehicle.
So troopers do have, they do come in handy occasionally, right?
Yeah,
Love you, troopers.
Just remember,
I'm gonna get more speeding tickets when I leave here, aren't I?
Oh, dude, I already called my friends at the Florida Highway Patrol. You will not be able to move without contributing to the general fund of the great state of Florida that you left me for, you traitorous bastard. Woo-hoo. Third episode in a row, we've had to talk about this. So I don't know if you knew this, Alex. Murph decided he's leaving me up here in Loudoun County, moved to Florida. And what does he do? He moves to Florida. He's sick the entire time.
Yeah.
He can't. Oh, I love Florida. Oh, and he left a lung on the floor when we were recording the intro for our last episode.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get here in time for COVID and hurricane season. We're doing good.
You made it. So let's talk. Let's go back to that. So let's talk. So the 7th, not much happens. You guys get geared up. What about the 8th? Going into the 8th, because I mean the weather's going to start deteriorating, right? Things start getting a little dicey.
Yeah, so we're doing that. We're doing we were setting up grid searches, searching cabins, because there are so many vacation cabins up there. They were going up there looking for any signs of forced entry. If there was anything, whether it was an overtime team, a patrol team, they were contacting our specialized enforcement division. They would go up with armor and check the house and do that.
Hey players, hopefully you enjoyed part 1 of Alex Collins and the shootout with ex-LAPD cop Christopher Dorner. There is a lot of stuff still to come. Just go to our webpage, gameofcrimespodcast.com. See all the pictures we've loaded up. I tell you, it shows you everything from the shootout, what he looked like as a young deputy, the day of the shooting, dressed as a detective, all the way up through his recovery and what he's doing now, living his dream, which is being part of the Special Enforcement Division, the SWAT team for San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office. Also, make sure you go visit us on the interwebs, the social media, at Game of Crimes on Twitter, at Game of Crimes Podcast, at Facebook and the Instagram. But more importantly, make sure you also go visit us at patreon.com/Game of Crimes. We have a ton of terrific content there. We're uploading new stuff every day. We have over 40 episodes for things for you to consume and enjoy. So remember, tell one, share one, give everybody the gift of Game of Crimes this holiday season. Hey guys, everybody stay tuned. We'll see you on Thursday for part 2 of Alex Collins and the shootout with ex-LAPD cop Christopher Dorner.